How's it going? Welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and this video is a review of the 1997 neo-noir social commentary Lost Highway. Chandler Anderson requested this review, so thank you for the suggestion. Despite being a box office flop, many people view this as David Lynch's masterpiece. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people, and I'll explain why. But before I hop into my review, if you want to support the channel, please take a second to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. We really appreciate it. This review will contain spoilers, so please proceed with caution or click out of this video. If you're still here, thanks for staying. If there's something you want to see reviewed, leave a comment and we'll get to it. Thank you. We're hopping in 3, 2, 1. There is a lot to unpack with this movie. I'm going to start off with things I liked, and then I'm going to move on to things I didn't like. For starters, the intro was great. Most modern movies don't play credits at the beginning of their films because we don't have the attention spans for them anymore. I'm not normally a fan of intro credits, so I fall into this category unless they're done right, and this movie gets it right. The song Funny How Secrets Travel by Marie Dior was engaging and nicely foreshadowed some of the themes further in the film. Speaking of themes, they were the things I liked most about this movie. One of the major themes in this film is that if you let evil into your life, it can quickly overwhelm and corrupt you. In this movie, evil is symbolized in a couple of ways. The mystery man with poor makeup, who looks like a vampire, is a manifestation of evil within the main character, Fred. In a nutshell, Fred's wife Renee is cheating on him, and when he finds out, he becomes jealous and subconsciously plots to murder her, which he eventually does. However, before he commits the deed, he runs into the mystery man and receives several videotapes, which are also symbolic of the evil creeping into his life. Based on this theme, a side theme director David Lynch includes is that pornography is evil and can quickly spiral out of control. This is heavily symbolized in the second half of the movie, but I'll get to that in a bit. This movie has two central characters per se. The first is Fred. After he kills Renee, he's caught by the police and sentenced to death. We see that in his mind and from his point of view, he's innocent and has blocked out his evil actions. While he's waiting for execution, we're introduced to the second character, Pete. He's an imaginary version of what Fred wishes his life was like. He's cool, hip, and has a girl that's passionate about him. He looks like a douchebag to me, but I'll give you my complaints later. Essentially, in this Pete fantasy, he meets Alice, who is identical to Fred's wife, but she's involved in the porn business and is a mob boss's lady. Before meeting her, the mob boss tempts him with a porno of her, but Pete views himself as a good and innocent guy, so he denies the offer. Again, the videotapes are symbolic of evil. Eventually, Alice seduces Pete and he falls for her, cheating on his girlfriend and making an enemy of the mob boss. They enact a plan to skip town, and while trying to rob a rich guy in his home, Pete kills him. In this home, we see pornographic tapes and images of Alice, symbolizing that she is evil. This movie is big on symbolism, and Alice is representative of evil successfully creeping into Pete's life. The evil manifestation in this movie states, "I don't go where I'm not wanted," and this indicates that Pete allowed Alice and the evil to spiral into his life because he wanted it. Pete's not as nice and innocent as he thinks. Similarly, Fred's not as nice and innocent as he thinks. Eventually, this Pete fantasy comes to a halt when Fred is executed by electric chair. Now that I've explained the themes I liked about this movie, I want to move on to things I didn't like and thought could use improvement. I thought the plot itself was good. I didn't think it was great or amazing, but it worked. One of the things that really drags this film down for me are the direction and the pace. This film feels so disjointed and is painfully slow. Lynch could have told the exact same story with a better tone and audience impact in a 20-minute short film rather than a 2-hour and 15-minute movie. I'm not surprised this movie was a box office flop when it came out. I also believe Lynch could have done a better job with the symbolism. This movie was very cryptic. In my opinion, it's okay for social commentaries to be deep and complex because it adds meaning to them, but making them cryptic alienates your audience and distorts your message. I like taking notes when I do reviews, and I normally write less than a page. I had 3.5 pages. I couldn't tell what the director wanted to tell, and that's not good. To make things even worse, the acting in this movie was bad. At best, it was maybe mediocre. For the majority of the film, the acting was so dry. This sucked for me because I like actor Bill Pullman, and I know he can do better. To be fair, I did like Robert Blake as the evil mystery man. He did good, but his makeup was awful. He almost comes off as silly. When it comes to Balthazar Getty, I need to be honest, I don't know much about his filmography, but after seeing his performance in this movie, I don't quite care to know. It was just too bland. I unfortunately have to say the same thing for Patricia Arquette. The lack of emotion in this movie is simply sad, and I hope for the actor's sake it was just bad writing. Finishing up with the last of my criticisms, the editing and special effects in this movie were terrible. Case in point. Why even bother pasting Blake's face there? They could have just had him lay there instead. I also wasn't a fan of the transition into Pete's fantasy. I've seen better special effects for movies in the 80s. The editing in this movie was awful. Again, maybe it's the writing, but the scenes start and end very abruptly, which doesn't give you enough time to get invested in the characters and their story. The only good editing and special effects that come to mind are the ending electrocution scene and the mystery man's cabin blowing up. Overall, I felt let down by this film. In my eyes, it had so much potential to be an amazing movie. The themes in this film are incredible, a 10 out of 10 for me. I glossed over it, but I also enjoyed the soundtrack and the dialogue. I felt they added emotion to the movie. Unfortunately, those were the only things I thought were good. The tone, direction, and pace of the movie didn't really stand out for me. At best, they were okay, if not flat out bad. The acting in this film was really bland and bored me at times. Topping it off, the editing and special effects were largely atrocious. All of that said, I think this movie does just enough right to be considered okay. I rated this movie a 4.2 out of 10. Despite being an okay movie, I wouldn't recommend it to the average viewer. I think there are better social commentaries out there, but if you choose to watch Lost Highway, you might pick up on how easy it is to lose your way. Thank you for listening to my review of Lost Highway. Chandler, thank you for your request. I'm sorry this movie wasn't for me, but I appreciate your suggestions. If you enjoyed the content and want to support the channel, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. If there's something you want reviewed, leave it down below like Chandler and we'll get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast, Friends with Benefits. My name is Diego and I'll see you next time.